Good evening, good evening, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Nightcap Knowledge. Live on Black with No Chaser. Each and every Tuesday night, we are here. Put some on your head before you go to bed. Mr. Mack is in the building. George Chuck is in the building. We have two esteemed guests joining us tonight. We have Leach Perryman and Charles Taylor coming in from the Mississippi NAACP. We will be talking Legislative Action and Advocacy Day 2025. They're going to give us a rundown of all the action that happened on or in the state capitol, on the steps, there, in and around, all the way around the city of Jackson, the state of Mississippi. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Nightcap Knowledge. There it is, and there it is, and there it always is. There he is, looking just like himself. Mr. Mack, how you doing?
Man, if I were any better, I'd be named Chuck.
I heard that, and I appreciate that, and I accept it. And look, I'm gonna say, man, I am super. That's why they call me the Super Deuce.
What is the deal, Pipple?
Everything kosher, man. We just got back from watching some high school soccer, the South State Championship, man. We've been rocking and rolling, keeping up with 9U and 10U, but we finally got to see some high school action. So excited about that. What about you?
Man, not doing too much, man. Just getting everything together, getting ready for this evening. It's been a whole lot happening, brother. Whole lot happening that affects everybody, and I don't think people thought it was going to get to this point. So,
well, I mean, people might not have thought that, but Mississippians have always known that.
Oh yeah.
Well, look, man, go ahead and give us the mental health minute, and then we will get our guest introduced and get them on stage. And while you're doing that, I will nudge our audience inside of our Facebook group, and we'll keep this thing rolling.
Okay. Listen. So the mental health minute is something that I think that is very important to each individual. It is be your best you. A lot of times, as we see in society, they're trying to control you, want you to do certain things a certain way. And sometimes you, as a person, you evolve over time with maturity, with knowledge, education, things of that nature, but you still be you. And I learned this years ago from what I was told about my big mama, my grandmother's mother. She would say, I am who I am, teeth and tongue. So you be who you are, but be your best version of yourself as you can be. So those are things that, you know, knowing who you are and who you are will help you be the best you. It will help you not be swayed or programmed to walk a certain way and be a certain way, you will be your authentic self. So always be best you, because you don't have any other choice. You can't be anybody else. So be your best you is our that's about self-identification, self self-influence. You got to motivate it and put things inside for what you read, the content to help build you to be the best you. So that's the mental health minute. What is the groove, Chuck?
Well, Mac, we appreciate you encouraging us to be the best version of ourselves. One of the things that I can say, and it fits with what you're discussing tonight. I've been encouraging the boys to put in at least 18 minutes every day. It's like we ask them to do homework, right? Their teachers encourage them to do homework, but nobody's asking them to go and play travel baseball and soccer, because that costs. Like we could be putting that money somewhere else. But what we are asking them to do is, if we're going to make that financial investment, we want them to be able to be better than they were yesterday. So one of the Kobe, one of the things that Kobe said, if you can do 18 minutes more than your teammates, then you'll be great, right? But those of us that put in hours upon hours outside of practice, when it comes time for game time, it doesn't game time doesn't even feel like game time. Game time feels like practice, because practice was just the fine tuning. You've been working on things outside of the practice that your coach or coaches put together for you. So being your best you means that you're putting in work outside of the office or outside of those legislative chambers and things like that. And I know the two people that we have coming on the show tonight, they have definitely been putting in. Good night, Jackson. Say hello. All right. Night night, buddy. All right. They've been putting in minutes upon minutes upon minutes, hours, days, years of their lives, as it relates to advancing and moving Mississippi forward. As Mac is pulling up his Pinot Noir, we would like to welcome to the stage with some applause. Let me get their applause ready, because they definitely deserve it. Welcoming Miss Alitra Perryman and Mr. Charles Taylor. Charles, there you go. Applause, brother. Y'all look beautiful. Y'all don't look like you're stressed out. You do not look like you live in Mississippi. You look like you are absolutely living on an island somewhere. Look well put together. Oh my God, you guys do not look like freedom fighters.
Hey,
we
Charles,
definitely don't look sleepy either.
Charles, be careful, don't step in there.
Oh, look, I'm gonna say this. Mac and I are up every Tuesday night, and we talk politics, we talk financial health and awareness, we talk physical health and awareness. Sometimes we even talk smack. And we're gonna keep it clean for the first, let's say 15 minutes or so, but we might let a couple of them fly later on. So feel free to speak freely. This is your place, this is our place. Your blackness is safe here. As you noted, we are live on Black with No Chaser, and we are happy because this is the first time that we've had the two of you here, and we're glad to have you on Nightcap Knowledge. So what we talking about, man? I know we said Mississippi Advocacy Day, but for those that do not know you, because we've got folks that are tuning in from outside of the state, they may not know who you are. So I would love for you guys to do an introduction, and then we can dig into the topic at hand. So Leitra, you want to go first?
I can. So I'm going to start with a disclaimer. My internet on this computer is a little wacky, so I might change computers. But I am Alitra Perryman, the Deputy Director for the Mississippi NAACP State Conference. I am a freedom fighter. I am a Mississippian. I am all of those things, and I'm happy to be here with you guys tonight.
Well, Alitra, thank you for that. And Charles?
Hey, everyone. Charles Taylor, Service Executive Director for the Mississippi State Conference and NAACP. Happy to be here with you tonight. Love the work I get to do with Alitra and our team, our staff, our volunteers, our members, our state leadership, our local leadership. NAACP, we've been in the state since 1918. The first branch was founded in Vicksburg, Mississippi, 107 years ago. And so, as we are on the eve of the 116th anniversary of our organization, which is February 12th, just happy to spend the night before with some good brothers I know from Mississippi.
Hey man, that's awesome right there. So look, happy anniversary to us. Because it's we getting the new computer in. Come on with it. Come on, new computer. The internet is going internet. I love it. So but again, happy anniversary to us. I am a member of the NAACP. I am not as active as I should be here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, but I'm active with Mississippi Move, and we are partners with the NAACP State Conference, and we would love to know and to get insight from you all on the actions and some of the legislative agenda that you guys may have advanced during the recent Advocacy Day, and what we should be paying attention to.
So, Chuck, what branch are you a member of? I'm switching you up a little bit.
So I went online. I'm not a branch member, but I went online and got my membership card. So
okay, I'm gonna make sure that we get you connected to the Biloxi branch.
Look, I'm cat. I just pay my dues. I don't come to no meetings.
So we're keeping our eyes on everything this session. As we all know, Project 2025 is real. They're trying to roll it out here in Mississippi, one piece at a time. And we know that they hide things in bills. So we're looking at education, choice vouchers. I mean, choice sounds like you have all of these wonderful options. It really means your public school dollars, the dollars you pay in taxes when you pay your taxes on your car tags, taxes on your home, that money can go to private schools. And most of the time, private schools are not for Black and brown children. So we're looking at education bills. We're looking at tax reform. And we're looking at Medicaid expansion. There are too many sick folks in Mississippi, especially poor Black and brown people in Mississippi who are working, but they may work part-time jobs or seasonal jobs. So the job may not offer health insurance, but they need health insurance. And right now they're only going to the doctor when things are so bad you can't take it anymore and you go to the emergency room. And that's just not fair for people who work hard every day. They should be able to go to the doctor and see about themselves. So healthcare is a big concern for us this year.
Well, healthcare has always been a big concern. I actually had a conversation with the local minister, and he was talking about his occupational hazards. And I think a lot of our gig workers, and I know people have never looked at ministers as gig workers, but I think they might deserve to be included in that, because a lot of, and I'm shaming some folks right now, a lot of Baptist ministers don't have like a group plan that they're a part of. Like their church doesn't have a group plan. So I think the expansion of Medicaid is a topic that one should be being discussed inside of churches and barbershops. And I think that you guys have led some of those conversations or facilitated some of those conversations that are kind of uncomfortable in those spaces. How do y'all typically go about, promoting what you do in advance of like an advocacy day, and then all the folks that are assembling on the steps there?
Yeah, man. So we do a lot. The thing that I appreciate the most about our organization is that we have 112 units across the state. 80 of those units are adult branches, and the remainder are youth and college. And so we have our members that come from all across the state to Jackson for Advocacy Day. You know, last year we had several advocacy days. We had one where it was to talk about the NAACP and its priorities as a whole. But we also had one explicitly on Medicaid expansion. We're going to do the same this year. I tell you, you know, in the mix of everything that's happening, and even in the wake of the results from 2024, I think we kind of just woke up and basically said, "Welcome to Mississippi, America." But the struggles, the fight, the advocacy is something that is not unique to us. It's something that we have been doing for a long time. So when we have these types of advocacy days, our members, they come, they show up, they loud, they proud. They recognize that it's important to say what is the position in NAACP. You know, I think that the legislator needs to fully fund education, and they need to do it. They need to do it now. They need to expand Medicaid and do it now. They need to restore the ballot initiative process, or at least so we can put that back on the ballot, so citizens have a right to put issues on the ballot. At the end of the day, the Mississippi Capitol was built by the people, and it's the people's house. So let's do what the people want. And these are things that are not just the issues that the NAACP is pushing for, but these are issues that ordinary Mississippians, Black, white, Democrat, Republican, etc., want. And so if the priorities are not the priorities of the people, we got to ask ourselves what's happening and who's pulling the strings. At the end of the day, what goes on at the Capitol should be the work of the people. But unfortunately, that's not always the case.
Yeah, you're right. Typically what's going on in the Mississippi Capitol now is we're celebrating the reinstatement of plastic straws. And it seems like we we are focused on, and I'm saying we because a collective Mississippi is us, but they, shout out to Kendrick, they are not like us. They over there celebrating damn straws. And we have kids that have real issues and need real support. And whether they like to admit it or not, a lot of the people that, you know, quote unquote, look like them, share the same issues, but we've not been able to break through some of those, I guess you would like to say barriers, if you will, to get them to understand that there are a lot more similarities between our communities than there are differences. What are y'all's thoughts around breaking down those barriers, and then I guess getting past the, you know, like this myth of if I can keep Black folks out of certain things, and I have a better chance at being successful type of thinking. Am I doing too much, or do I need to go back towards community engagement? Okay.
I had some thoughts. I was trying to see if Lalisha wanted to chime in first. If not, I got a couple of things I would like to share. And so, you know, I
go
think
ahead, Charles. I'm gonna come in. I might come in too hot, so go ahead.
Ain't no such thing as too hot on Nightcap Knowledge. I ain't had no whiskey yet, for the record.
Oh, yeah. No, me either. I need to grab a glass. So, you know, I think it's interesting. There's a new book out. I can't think of the author's name, but it's entitled Rule White Rage. And the author basically discussed how Trump was elected in 2016, which means he was president from January 20th, 2017 to January 20th, 2021. And in that, the rural white voters didn't see much material condition change. But these same voters voted for him in 2024. And the question became, why?
Why?
And the question is, and the answer is, at least from this author's perspective, and I agree, is that he gave them a place to put that rage. They're angry. They don't know why. Things are not going their way. Have you ever tried to rationalize with an angry person?
It's tough.
Think about that. It doesn't work. Because when I'm angry, I don't want to hear a solution necessarily.
Yeah.
I want to first deal with my anger. And I think that there's a lot of anger in this country. And I think there's a lot of rural right rage. And I think it's for many reasons.
Yeah.
You know, we have to dig into it. But in that, we were making an argument around material conditions change when he was addressing anger and giving them a place to put it.
Yeah.
And so as I look at that, I think that that is a real phenomenon to discuss. And I also think about how we treat the electorate. It's not always about necessarily saying, hey, I'm going to change the material conditions of your life. If I can't hear that, then all of what you're saying is for naught. What we see happening right now in this country, and it didn't take long, is folks are stirred up. Some are angry in a way that they wasn't during the election. Some are trying to figure out, like, what is the path forward, etc. But as we do, I think we got to take a step back to really evaluate how we're talking and how we're communicating with voters. And I think that is going to matter a lot. And I also think that same thing we need to discuss having a conversation with Black voters as well, because the treatment of Black voters in this country has not always been a good one. And even the treatment of the Black electorate, and I'm saying this from a technical standpoint, the amount of money that is spent on a Black voter compared to our white counterparts is very little. So if we want change, we're going to have to shift some things up. Yeah. I can't give you all the answers, but what I can say is doing the same old isn't working. So something has to change.
Alitra, your thoughts?
Charles did a great job. So I am going to say that it is time for us to reignite the movements that our ancestors had in the 60s. It is time for us to come up with some solid movement plans and stick together. And he's right. White folks are mad. Mediocre white boys have been running this country for a long time, and now we're down to the dumb white boys. So something has to give. Black women have been holding us down. Black women are exhausted. Black women worked so hard last year in that election. But we can't give up. We have to keep fighting. We have to keep working at it. And we do have to spend more time and money on Black voters and talking to Black voters, infrequent Black voters, about why their vote is important. Right. And we're in local elections right now, municipal elections, where elections are decided by a few hundred, not millions of people. So right now is the time to start having these conversations.
Definitely that. I'd like to, and Mac, I don't know if you're able to jump in just yet. I know you got a lot of thoughts around some of these things, but I would like to enter into the conversation there was something I noticed on Facebook, and I've brought it up here before. Charles, you alluded to it. The orange theory in chief is an over communicator. He consistently floods the airwaves with whatever it is that he's attempting to advance. All right, we know that. And Charles, you said we have to, you know, communicate better with our audience and our community. And we almost have to become over communicators to balance out the amount of, or really the attempt to drown out some of the things that are being pumped out from the other side. Now that's a thing. We know that, or it's something that we might need to do. The parallel that I'd like to draw is what you spoke to with the whole us versus them thing, and the rapper that has definitely put the us versus them theory into motion, and that is Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick has been speaking to his base, and whether we like it or not, or whether we like the comparison or not, I truly believe, and I saw this on Facebook, I was like, somebody else is thinking like me. I'm like, Kendrick ate that man up, and he made, in my opinion, he made Drake like the, I guess, like the mascot for without saying that Drake is for the establishment, but he made Drake the mascot for the establishment in terms of, I am real hip hop, and this person is the ops, and he is doing everything that that y'all say that quote unquote the establishment and white men are doing, but y'all letting him do it. So you know what? I'm gonna draw a line in the sand, and I'm gonna start, in the words of Skip Coon, I'm gonna start aiming at teeth. And Drake's teeth happen to be the one that have been getting knocked out. How long this man been? I don't know. I don't know how long it's been going on. But what I'm doing is I'm drawing a parallel between how Kendrick has been able to play politics inside of the entertainment industry while staying true to culture, and what we've not been able to do in certain particular parties. I'm saying we because, you know, it's they're the people that aren't spending the money in the places that the money needs to be spent, i.e. with us and in our base. Why is it that we don't draw lines in sand and aim at teeth in certain circles and in spaces and in packs and things like that?
Man, you put a lot on that one. You know, I thought we were gonna deal with the non-controversial stuff like what the president is doing. But you talking about Kendrick versus Drake, you're gonna get
You a Drake fan.
I know you're gonna get me in trouble on here. I am a Drake fan.
Look, I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
What?
Drake makes good music.
Oh man,
He does.
But what I'm saying is, I'm not. Look. Let me clarify this. I'm
trying to learn how to crip walk in this thing.
Look, I know who do know how to crip walk, Serena. Now,
right.
What I'm saying is that the tactic that is being used, you cannot argue with the tactic. If we go, why aren't we drawing lines in sand and being like, I dare you step across that mug? Because look, you know what? Don't step across it. I got the line. Bow.
Yeah. Yeah. The tactic. So I go ahead, Matt.
No, I was gonna say it's pretty much what we talked about. I'm usually the one that I always wait to say something because I'm probably gonna say the shit that nobody else will say. So, but we have been taught and told not to say certain things because of your image and who you are, and certain people are going to frown upon you if you say that because of this, that, and the third. Kendrick Lamar is like, fuck that shit. I'm gonna say it because it needs to be said because there's some people out there that need to hear it, and he's speaking to the people that need to hear it versus the people that are standing up front. I think that's where our base is when it comes to voting. We've been doing the same thing for 21 years. We go to the craziest places where the people are, and other people are like, why would you go over there? I'm going to Vernon Dish. I'm gonna go sit up at this barbecue and do voter registration. You got to go to where the people are because you got to cater to that base. You got to do that, and that's what he's doing on a larger scale because being our true authentic selves is frowned upon among the establishment. We're still trying to play safe. We're still in a kata competition with a street fighter. We got to hit some teeth and we got to throw some low blows. When they go low, we go to the pits of hell. That's what we got to do.
Man, well, I'll say a few things. I think
Man, I ain't mean to do that.
Yeah, I mean, because y'all hit on a lot, and so I say this. Let me start with a couple things. One,
all right.
Even what we already have, we don't hit enough voters. I'm just gonna speak to this. What typically happens is that there's just let's say if there are if okay, I'll break it down this way. All right. When you are having a campaign, whether it's nonpartisan or partisan, two things are always going to be limited. That is time and money. Off top. What happens often is that the money comes in late and you have very little time. And so because of that, the way the electorate gets treated is different. So here's what happens. All right. We go to the typical means of touching the more voters, the most amount of voters possible in the shortest amount of time. Well, that ends up meaning that Charles, Alitra, Chuck, and Mac gets touched.
The usual suspects.
The usual suspects. Because we can crank up the numbers. And so in us getting touched, the four of us gonna vote whether it's a hurricane outside or not. And the four of us are not undecided as to who we're going to vote for. But you spend a lot of money on us versus my cousin,
right,
my neighbor, or whomever. And because of that, I continuously turn out and he or she or they don't.
Yeah.
That's just one thing. Just from a superficial standpoint, we have to shift how we spend our resources, both partisan, nonpartisan, etc. That's just off rip. The second piece to it of like going for the jugular, the gut. What ends up happening is, in many ways, it feels like we end up being, it's those who exclude and those who include.
Mm-hmm.
Those who include hadn't found clear and direct messaging that speaks to everyone. And I think we really need to tackle and grapple with that. The other thing I'll say in it is we got to get serious about winning. And there are people who see elections as theoretical exercises.
Yeah.
And there are people who see consequences of election as life and death.
Yeah.
What we have to get everyone to recognize is I don't care who you are, it is an existential question that's being asked every time we have an election. The folks who see that the most oftentimes are those with the most resources. Those who you would think the election would have little to no consequence on. Well, we have to do that. And that's a long, bigger conversation. But
yeah,
that is where I land in the comment of, where we need to do, what we need, where we need to go from here.
no, I think your comments and how you broke them down are directly in line with the playbook that Kendrick laid out. Clear and direct messaging. Change how we spend and get serious about winning. There's a producer from Jackson, Rashad Street. Rashad Street threw up a picture of, and these are in I know we kind of like cross section in between politics and hip hop. But Rashad Street said
the message in the music.
The message is in the music, but this is the person that Drake was engaged in battle, and it was not the polished. And I think this is what Alitra is saying. Like we're still up there with these nice shiny suits on, but we need overall energy. And I think and I'm gonna pull this picture up. Like it is a absolutely horrific. Like it was Kendrick in the trenches. And I think, the just to make the analogy, like we got to get that overall energy. We got to get that, like our genes do not fit. They are not tailored, in the way that that they are, now that we've arrived at a particular point. And I think we got to get a little Kendrick in ourselves as it relates to how we aim at our enemies, quote unquote.
I totally agree. I think we also have to start using our own money in some of these campaigns. I'm waiting for you to pull the picture up, but the money that we would spend on a nice pair of shoes, we can donate to a local campaign and make a difference. We have enough money and power and influence that we just don't tap into. And I don't know if it's because we don't realize it or what, but think about the Montgomery bus boycott and the sacrifices they made walking to work for over a year to shut down the company when that was their primary source of transportation. We're talking about people who worked as maids and porters, and they had physical jobs. They sacrificed. We're sitting on money. We can do this.
Rashad, you said this yesterday. I'm going to say this and get back to my scheduled program. This is who Drake has dealt with for the past few months. The psyche of Kendrick Lamar is deeply rooted with certain things most wouldn't understand. Just looking at this picture tells me alone that the battle was over before it started. I think Kendrick got serious about winning. And it was like, I gotta do what needs to be done, because there's, as you said, like there decisions being made that ultimately affect the generation after the generation after the generation that's in the seat right now. And I know that some people, like you said, are they have the resources and they see these things and they're thinking long term. But how do we make this more simple for people that aren't looking at things the way that you all are, from a 1,000-foot or bird's eye perspective?
hate to come from a place of fear. I prefer to do like this asset type of, but there are a lot of things on the line for us. I'm 51. Will Social Security be around for me? I don't know. What happens when my grandson wants a quality education? Is it possible? I don't know. I mean, in 2025, those are things that I should not have to question. So we have to look at what's just happened in the month of January with this new presidency and say, where are we going to jump
Where we
in?
gonna end up?
Yeah, I mean, when are we gonna put the spikes down to stop the runaway train? I mean, what are we gonna do and when? Like we have to unite and get it together because this is a mess. And that wasn't very hopeful. So I'm sorry.
No, look, I think it is I think we began the conversation differently. I know that you all have some actual like numbers of bills that people should be paying attention to, but I wanted to spend some of that, like philosophical time on, just really what Charles, lined out, like how do we communicate better? Like how do we plan better around messaging and all of that? But I know that you guys spend a lot of time on communicating things because the emails go out and you are consistently communicating with a particular group of people. So what are some of those things that Mississippians need to be concerned about? Those actual numbers of things that we should be emailing and calling, and what are the other calls to action that you all have that we should be assisting in?
Yeah, so I mean, just kind of reiterate, you have a couple things that may come up this session. Medicaid expansion. I think it's going to be the biggest thing. The reality of it is Mississippi hospitals are dying. They've been dying. And I just want to give a quick recap for the folks who's listening and watching why Medicaid expansion is so important. So we all have heard of the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare. Break it down. Why was there Obamacare? Healthcare is very expensive in this country. People who were uninsured was using the basically catastrophic method, meaning that if I'm sick, I have no health care, I'm going to go to the emergency room for all of my healthcare needs. And I'm going to go at the last possible minute because I know that as someone who's uninsured, they can't reject me. And this is where I'm going to get my bills. So then small issues become bigger issues. And then sometimes bigger issues never get addressed until they become catastrophic issues. People are dying. Things are expensive. Well, the Affordable Health Care Act basically said it's cheaper if this person goes to the hospital, goes to a doctor first. It's cheaper on them. We can recover just as much money. And they get health care. So why don't we just give them health care versus them going to the emergency room when there's something catastrophic happens and they have no other choice, right? So in that, a lot of people may not have known this, but in order to fund the Affordable Health Care Act, there was two pieces to it. One was the marketplace. And the marketplace basically said, we're going to make the process of buying healthcare, we're gonna make that easier because we're gonna put it all in the marketplace, gonna make the pricing more competitive, and people can look up and see how much they can pay for healthcare, and they can see it side by side. So think about it like this. Think about a car buying experience. You go and you buy and you see all the cars right there. Like the internet actually has lowered the prices of how car buying is across the board, because it's a little more clear on things, so that the kind of hassle and the haggling doesn't happen like it used to. So you have so those who could afford it, they can have affordable health care through this exchange. But the other piece of it was that there are individuals who work every day, more than 40 hours in some instances a week, and still cannot afford health care. Give an example. When you go to the gas station and you get your gas and you buy that bag of chips and that Coca-Cola, and you say, I need 20 on X, Y, and Z, that person, to make sure that you can get from point A to point B, probably don't have health care. And you see them working late at night, you see them working early in the morning, but they cannot afford it.
Right.
So Medicaid expansion just said, we're going to expand Medicaid to 138% above the poverty line. So basically, those who are not making enough to afford private insurance, and or the private insurance is not provided for them from their employer, those individuals, and they make too much to apply for Medicaid. So we're just going to expand the number. That number represents 233,000 Mississippians who currently do not have Medicaid, currently don't have health care. If it's expanded, 233,000 Mississippians.
233,000. Good God.
So that's what we're talking about. But here's what happened. And this is what people don't realize, why it's so important for Mississippi to expand Medicaid. In order to pay for a program like that, the federal government stopped doing what they call dish payments. Disadvantage, I'm blanking on the full name, but basically, when you go to the hospital and your bills are unpaid, the federal government used to pay a portion of them on the back end. So your hospital used to be able to say, we had, let's say, $100 million of unpaid bills, and boom, okay, well, we're going to give you $40 million to cover that cost this year. Now, mind you, those folks still had to pay them bills, but those kind of things kept the hospital afloat. Florida Health Care Act said, we're going to take that money and just give people health care. And when they come into the hospital, they're covered. So Mississippi no longer, just like any other state, no longer gets dish payments at the end of the year. And because the state has decided not to opt for Medicaid expansion, these same individuals still have to get health care, but they're uninsured, which means the rural hospitals are not able to, the folks are not able to pay their bills, and the rural hospitals having to eat that cost.
Yeah.
It has become too expensive, i.e. hospitals are dying.
Right.
And so that's where we are. Well, here's the other kicker about it. The federal government pays 100% of it for the first 3 years, and then it's almost a nominal amount that you pay afterwards. So the state of Mississippi has lost somewhere between $15 and $20 billion.
That doesn't sound like a good business move to me. No, but keep going.
It's not at all. Here's the reality. Who makes money off of Medicaid being expanded? It ain't poor people. Poor people benefit from Medicaid because they have insurance, but this also goes into, these dollars will go into the businesses and the health care community and the hospital, etc. So there is no downside to doing it. You want me to tell you why they won't do it?
Tell us why they won't do it, man.
Because at this point, a decade and a half ago, a black man was president, and this legislation was tied to his legacy. So they're saying, we want to kill, and that's what has happened, kill and harm Mississippians because this might tie to a black man who was president and his legacy. And the reality is, at this point, only 9 states in the country have not expanded Medicaid. A lot of Republican states have expanded because they recognize that this just makes good sense. It's good for your residents, it's good for your economy, and it's absolutely good for your healthcare system and infrastructure and ecosystem. So here we are. Elections have consequences. But I'll say this and I'll be quiet about it. Mississippi came very close last year. Very, very close.
Yeah.
The House passed it overwhelmingly. The Senate was on track to do the same thing. And it was our governor who blocked it.
Yeah.
So our Republican-led legislator understood now how important it is and how instrumental it is for it to be expanded so that these rural hospitals were dying. But because the governor ran against it, he stood 10 toes down on it.
He stood on his quote unquote business.
He's willing to say, I don't care what happens to 233,000 residents and whether or not they have health care, just because, this is something that I campaign against. And it's sad.
Mac, I know you itching to jump in on those.
Man, it's so much shit so think about 2012, President Obama won. Haley Barbour said we have to restructure the Republican Party. All right, 2020, while President Biden was being sworn in, there was a meeting with all the governors. We're not fighting the same fight as a people because they are looking at saving their livelihood and identity and way of life. And we are looking at participating in an electoral process. We'll feel like we have made it. We feel like we're fighting for two different reasons, right? Regardless if they want to believe it or not, they are fighting like the folks that throw rocks at tanks in foreign countries because they believe the identity is being stripped away by all of these minorities and all this wokeness. Did you see all them retarded ass folks that was getting interviewed and they was asking them what wokeness was, and they couldn't even tell you what it was. They just said it's bad. They didn't even know what it was. They're just regurgitating something that someone told them. They are fighting a totally different fight. They have been programmed to believe that their way of life is going to be changed dramatically for the worse if they don't do something. And we don't have that. And we don't have that fight.
Rage.
We don't have that same fight as a people, right? I like Jasmine Crockett because she tell it like a TIE. She talks shit, right? She ain't fatigued. That's what we need. We don't have a Jasmine Crockett on for black folks, or if you want to say Democratic, Freedom Democrat, or whatever, that aims at the person that's sitting there like, I like that. They said that shit. That's how I feel. They speaking to me. When you thinking before you speak, and you make sure you're using these different words. And when you're in a state that's majority of the folks live below the poverty line, that don't get them. You want to know why Kenneth Stokes ain't never been moved out of his seat? He speaks to his demographics.
Us versus them.
He speaks to his demographic. When ain't nobody never came and got him off that porch and did nothing because he speaks to his people and they understand him and they gonna support him. We got to do that without the fear of upsetting the hierarchy of black and the structure of those favorable whites, because most black people are only as radical as the most liberal white person they're around. So we got to say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done, regardless if they like it or not, because that's what your opposition is doing. And these folks are fighting because, again, like I said, we was a part of that process. We was a part of it. The story that Chuck and I tell is this has been happening for a long time. And they are going to go get the talented teens, and they're going to get the folks to do the job because they are trying to fight for a livelihood, and we are trying to get folks to participate in an electoral process. We don't have it attached because the system ain't never worked for us as a whole. It's never worked. We had to figure it out anyway, right? There's been special provisions made in every level of government to make sure that black folks are able to participate and be able to get the same thing as their white counterpart. And somehow we still don't get it. But guess what? They didn't understand what they were dealing with. Right now, we're in a position now. Black folks are giving that Kendrick Lamar smile at folks because I watch these videos and things as responsible. Where these white farmers are upset now because the USDA funds are being frozen. It hurting the black folks too. There's a whole lot more because they did cost sharing, right?
Yeah.
And so when your state like Mississippi is full of these folks and your funds are not coming into your farmers that supported you, them same folks support that certain folks in the state legislature. Well, if you supporting the person that froze my funds, I have a problem with you too.
I got a problem with you, bro. I'm coming to see you.
And that's where we at right now because our governor and our structure of government was one of those folks at that meeting they had while we were where folks were celebrating the electoral process. You had other folks who was planning how to sustain their way of life.
Yeah.
And even though it might be a false narrative, in their mind, they believed that they were sustaining their way of life. And they had no idea that it was going to have the blowback on them that it's having because it's only supposed to be for the black and brown people that's supposed to be affected by this, not us, because we're good, hardworking Americans. And like I said, a lot of folks just like, and we connecting the dots with Kendrick Lamar because the message in the music. A lot of folks, I watched them make comments on social media, and they want to be entertained. That's how they got the Negro thinking. We want to be entertained. We always put entertainment over education. Nobody want to listen to what we need to do to change our lifestyle and how we can protect and preserve the legacy for our children. We want to be entertained. And so we're not going to get the message. And because we don't get the message, we don't understand how important it is to make sure we make them respect our dollars and our vote. Spend your money with your folks. Put your money into local campaigns. Understand how this process works. Volunteer. For those who feel that we don't have the best folks that work in the polls on election day, if you are very articulate and elite and know how to read really well, then take your goddamn vacation day and work on election day and help make the process easier for folks. That's the type of sacrifice we need. That's the type of stuff we need. We need to plan for election day like we plan for vacation and homecoming. We got to plan the same way and put the same energy and the same money.
Had to give the horn on that one, Jack. That brother Mac had to give the horn. That Negro said, plan for election day like y'all playing for vacation and homecoming. Put it.
Hey, that definition for insanity. We keep doing the same shit, looking for a different result. We keep hoping and wishing.
Boy. They laid that outfit on the bed for homecoming.
Hoping and wishing.
He is absolutely correct.
What Pimp C say? Trill niggas busting lead. We ain't doing that. We ain't busting the lead. We just sitting there hoping and wishing.
Hoping and wishing, man.
No, it ain't gonna make it. Ain't gonna work. So we gotta keep aiming that T.
Now I'm gonna say this. It sounds like this may not be an on. God bless you, brother. God bless you. All right. Now that Charles got that sneeze, he probably been holding down for a while. You ain't got no booger right there, do you? Look in the camera like this.
So while we're on a little break, I want to shout out to our sister organization, One Voice, and encourage everyone to go to their website. One Voice is a policy think tank that really puts out some really great toolkits. They will cover the legislative bills in real time and put out notices and publications all the time. House Bill 1, that tax bill, is complicated and it has a lot of stuff in it. One Voice breaks it down into smaller pieces so people can understand what it means. When we talk about tax cuts, you think, I won't have to pay so much in income tax. But tax money is used to fund state-run agencies and programs. So what happens to the money if you're cutting the basis of the money? So, where it says resources, right up in there, they have all their toolkits. Look at that.
Yeah. So we had Nashambi on last week, and I
Okay.
think we should definitely revisit. This does not need to be the last time that you guys visit Nightcap Knowledge. I know that you guys are adverse to the 9 p.m. Start time. But look, all I'm saying is this: there are 84 people watching this right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Chuck, I'm gonna say that I'm usually right there with you. I'm a night owl. I
Yeah,
just been up since 5 this morning.
I got it. I got it, man.
And then
So
I got a 6 a.m. flight in the morning. So you
well, look, we're gonna go ahead and get you out of here. We're gonna get you out of here.
Yeah.
I think that we will definitely revisit you guys coming on. We do some regular updates, and then we're planning to do some Nightcap Knowledges live across the year in different parts of the state, possibly even parts of the country. So we look forward to continuing the conversation with you all. And we also want to, as our outro says, we want to get to where the money reside, because if we're not gonna stand on business and get to where the money reside, we ain't got nothing to work with.
Yeah.
You know?
I do want to push on one thing.
Yeah.
So something Max said, and I hear it a lot, and I'm pushing it with love. Is like we need more people voting than we have go to homecoming. The reality of it is more people vote than go to homecoming. What we really need is to figure out how do we get to this larger scale. And that is a different kind of question. Same spirit of the question, I think,
Right.
that Mark is posing, but different kind. And the other thing is, I think the framing of it matters the most. And here's what I mean. If we're talking about voting as an individual responsibility, and we're talking about getting, for this to happen within a system,
Mm-hmm.
and we're having a bad conversation. This is not about individuals. This is about a system. And so there is no coincidence why it's easier for me to sign up for Facebook than it is for me to register to vote. There's no coincidence why I can do same day sign up for certain things, but I cannot go to my poll as an unregistered person and vote. There's no coincidence why voting is not election day is not a national holiday. There's no coincidence as to why money is not spent in certain areas or spent on certain voters. So I'm saying that to say, and I'm not saying this as a to fight against anything that was said. I want to be clear. I just want us to kind of really think, push on this point. When it comes to voting,
Yeah.
if we want more people to vote, what we really have to do is fully understand and articulate what it means to scale. I'll say this and I'll be quiet. If you have 100 people in a room and you're trying to get 100 people to do something, it's going to be the first 10 to get them to do it is the most difficult. The last 10 is going to be most difficult. The first 10 is going to be difficult because you're convincing them, not because you don't have the individual. The last 10 is going to be difficult because you might have already convinced 90 and you're trying to find the 10 that you hadn't convinced. And so saying that to say, those are two different strategies. And then the strategy in the middle is also different. It's not about convincing. It's about advertising. It's about educating, and maybe a little bit of persuasion. But what we try to do sometimes is have this strategy for the first 10 that we have, the last 10, and also in the middle. When those are 3, maybe even 10 completely different strategies. So, even as we look at how do we do voter registration beyond the number that's naturally going to register in a particular year, we got to really tease out these strategies. And I don't think we've done this. And in it, We got to be vulnerable because there will be some trial and error. Because let's be clear, we're going to be doing some stuff that never been done in our state before, or at least not in recent history.
I'm excited to hear that, and I think that you and Mac are on the same page. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So us being able to one have these conversations in a space like this where we might be able to wet a person's whistle and get them to the point where they show up at organizing or voter registration training or anything like that is I think what Nightcap Knowledge was designed to be. We do joke, we do have fun, and I think that us being able to have conversations that don't go above certain folks' head, or that it speaks directly to them, or they can see the person that is articulating things in front of the legislature or in front of a group of dignitaries and attorneys can also joke and have fun too, but still without a doubt be very serious about the freedom and empowerment of our community. So thank you for your time. I think we'll keep in contact with of course we know each other, but through the proper channels with Benita, and making sure that we get y'all on to do some regular updates. And that all don't have to be, on Nightcap Knowledge. We are in the restructuring, phase for Black with No Chaser, where we'll be rolling out some new shows. There'll be more written things coming from the blogs and things like that. And I definitely, invite you all to pin some things that'll go to, our email database that isn't necessarily the same database that you guys have in terms of the NAACP and sister organization with one voice. So I think we do what we said we're gonna do. We're gonna over communicate with the same things that we know we need to communicate on, but it'll be clear, it'll be direct. We drawing lines in sand. We aiming at teeth. We're gonna change how we spend our money, and then we're gonna get serious about winning.
Yes.
What Chris say? Mississippi, bitch. Hey, I can't play Big Crit because we've been streaming on Facebook and Instagram, and they will flag us. But what we're gonna play? We're gonna play this outro music because we're getting it where the money reside, baby. Let's go.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Matt.
Thank y'all.
We'll see y'all next week. This has been a recap of Mississippi NAACP Advocacy Day 2025, fighting for justice at the Mississippi State Capitol. Next week, we will be talking tech next week. Make sure y'all tune in. We got a esteemed guest. We will drop that information sometime tomorrow. As always, Nightcap Knowledge, 9 p.m. on Black with No Chaser. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.